Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel. We're on the 63rd coffee stream, and it is a bit of a mixed bag today. We're gonna be doing some news, and we're gonna be talking about some uh, fun drama stuff. But I just want to make a quick announcement. I need to jump off at about 11 today because I have a doctor's appointment at noon. So we're gonna only go for about an hour today. Um, but I awoke this morning to AP's video dropping about Scooby 331, and it was an interesting video, and I just wanted to touch on that real quick. And first of all, say hello to Skep. And Skep, you were watching it. What did you think about it?
Hey, good morning, Blinds. Good morning, friends. The video that Blind is talking about is a video that dropped on the Blunt Stream channel, which is an interesting channel.
It is. It's great. I like it.
It's big fun. They are fanciers of all things YouTube, especially drama. And the video about Scooby is probably a lot of what YouTube drama is in a nutshell.
Yes.
Anonymity on the internet provides people with courage. It's almost like liquor. It really is.
Yeah.
They come out and they get to be the badass that they always wanted to be because there is just no consequence as long as you're anonymous. That's one of the reasons, one of many reasons that doxing is viewed by people online as bad. Because if you get doxxed, somebody can really come over to your house and kill you or beat the crap out of you or do whatever they want, set your house on fire. And that has happened. YouTubers have been killed because they were doxxed. So under that pretext anyway, doxing is bad, okay?
Yes, very.
And everybody agrees to that with that for whatever reason, whatever justification, real or imagined, is behind that. But in not doxing people and not knowing who people are, they get to remain anonymous and they can turn themselves into the badass that they always were in their own mind. And that is largely what Scooby does. And Scooby attempts to attach chunks of reality to his mental image of himself as a badass by going and enlisting the officers of Representative Peter King of New York, or going to the FBI and saying, hey, I know some people who are doing RICO stuff, and then turning in people like Weibo Jones, to the FBI. Really? Seriously? So, I mean, this is a woman who wants a career in law enforcement. That was really a dirty thing to do.
Yeah.
When he did that, that was when I realized that the guy was participating in reality that I did not recognize. So,
well, I found that because he streamed with our group a few times.
I've had him on my show,
and I found that no matter what we try, and AP mentioned this in his video, that no matter what the conversation is, no matter who is talking or what they're talking about, Scooby has something to do with it. Like he has a family member in that particular area of conversation, or he has done, like, it's a very narcissistic attitude that you've got.
It all ends up pointing back at Scooby.
Yeah. Yep. He's always got to have a finger in whatever is being spoken about. And I found that when he was on the show and we tried to talk about anything, he just took it over.
Well, that's because he has so many things to say about his greatness and the important people he knows and how influential he is. And that's why he lives at home with his mother and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
With no
I don't know how I don't think I would want to be married to somebody and live in his mom's house. I don't.
Do you think it's not ideal unless he's in a persistent vegetative state? There's usually the reason is economic. Now people say, well, Scooby's had a hard time. He's done this. He's done that, and you know, taking take this from somebody who's a recovering alcoholic and who has seen the bottom. You won't get better until you decide to start making yourself better. The only thing you can change is yourself, ultimately. It's the easiest thing to change, and it's the best place to make improvements. Scooby needs to change. He needs to have a heart-to-heart honesty talk with himself, and then just basically make a pledge to begin to be honest about who he is, what he wants to do, and then go do it. That's the answer for most people, but some people would rather kind of force a fantasy outcome in the world of reality by just saying shit that just isn't true and doing stuff that is a strange, fantastical, and occasionally obscenely unfair, which is what he did to Weibo.
Yeah.
So anyway, make a long story short, and I know you didn't intend to talk about Scooby all day, and we could easily spend an hour on the machinations of this clown. But I used to think of him as a friend, and now he's just a guy who I view as having a psychiatric problem. I really think he's beginning to have breaks with reality, and usually that been my experience that gets worse. And I don't know everything that's going on in his life. I don't care to know everything that's going on in his life. I'm not without compassion, but if somebody lashes out at me, then I'm done with them.
Yeah.
And so, best thing probably for anybody is, make up your own mind about what kind of relationship you want to have with a person like this. But, don't get entangled with people who are victims themselves and want someone to come and play in their victim pool with them. There are plenty of people out there who are well-adjusted, good-hearted, fun people who are normal. You can have a normal relationship with. They're fun and interesting and smart. They have good ideas. They're forward-looking and happy. You can spend your days on this earth like that. Doesn't that sound like a better idea?
It does, because he's always the victim. Like, in the video, there's a clip this morning where he's like, I have PTSD from the Twin Towers falling. Were you there?
Yeah.
Were you in them?
Well, no, he was in Brooklyn.
Well, then shut the fuck up.
And Brooklyn's only one giant city away.
You weren't a fucking firefighter going in there to save people. You weren't working there. You just watched it on TV. Go fuck yourself.
Right.
You don't have fucking PTSD from that. I'm sorry. I hate when people do that. Yeah. I hate when people call PTSD for shit that just happened around them.
Yep.
You don't know what PTSD is if you're going to say that. And you don't want it. Why do people want to have PTSD?
Well, because victim status can translate into benefits, both psychological and financial. There's social status in the victim community, and you're marginalized. You get to go to help sessions and group therapy sessions where you're kind of a star. You're important. You haven't done anything to make yourself important. Everybody wants to be Mr. Big, but nobody wants to put in the time, the hours, the back-breaking labor that it takes to be Mr. Big. Is just I'm going to turn this to myself for a minute, but just for a minute, I promise. I'm a guitar player, and I'm a good guitar player. I really know what I'm doing. I'm not, Eric Clapton or anything like that, but I know my way around the fingerboard. So many people say, "Oh, I play too." Not really. they know about 3 chords, and they don't have any technique. They've never studied. They've never practiced. They probably have 20 hours of practice on the guitar in their lives, a total. Okay, which was 3 days of practice for me during the years and years that I put in easily 10,000 hours practicing guitar, and it's hard, and you get frustrated, and your hands hurt, your fingers hurt, and you want to put it down, and you think you're going crazy, but the people who are really fascinated by the guitar, and I always was, you're like a moth to the flame. You keep going back, and after a while, even somebody like me gets fairly good. So, but everybody wants to be Mr. Big. Everybody wants to be that guy who can play that solo. That everybody wants to be Eddie Van Halen or whoever.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to spend the 20,000 hours that it takes to become that person.
Well, that's why I have a guitar, but I don't call myself. I'm a singer first, and then I would say that I would be a rhythm guitar player.
Yeah.
Like I am nowhere close to being able to do solos or anything. I can bust out some good riffs and some good chords.
Yeah.
And accompany people. But I'm much better at singing. I put in the kind of practice you talk about with the piano.
Yep.
And so it's one of those things where, but I would never claim to be calling myself a good guitar player. Do you know what I mean? Like I practice.
I understand, but you actually are interested in the guitar. You're fascinated with the guitar, and you're also very young. And
I love the sound it can make. I love the different types of amplifiers you can use to produce different sound. All the different distortion boxes and
effects loops and stuff. That's big fun, and you can the guitar is a result has become a very, very versatile instrument. It's not just the plunky old classical guitar, although that's very beautiful too.
Yeah.
And but there are all kinds of interesting things. If you want to know who some of my guitar heroes are, as somebody who's played for a long time, I will say for shredding, I think Buckethead is just about without peer. He's probably the best shredder who ever lived in terms of just being able to play practically anything. For technique, Larry Carlton, you can hear him. He played half of all the leads of Steely Dan for 20 years, and he's amazing. Listen to his lead on Kid Charlemagne. That's something to hear.
What do you think about Jeff Healey? Have you heard of Jeff Healey?
Yeah, he's fine. His style is still maturing, I think. He's not a versatile. He's not what I would call a versatile guitarist, but he's very good at what he does.
I would agree with you. I think that he's good at what he does, but I think he's very. I hate to say it, but I think if he wasn't blind, he probably wouldn't be as famous as he is.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, Jose Feliciano with
No, Jeff Healey is not dead, Pincalo.
Jose Feliciano with eyes is just another Mexican classical guitar player.
Yeah.
I mean, he did have kind of a cool personality and was entertaining. He probably would have done well even if he'd been sighted, but being blind was just, that was enough to catapult him into stardom because, and then he had, one viral hit, Light My Fire, the cover of Light My Fire. And, that was a career that he he dined out on that for the rest of his life.
Costin was asking really quick, did Weibo get any blowback from Scooby contacting the FBI about her? I don't know.
I don't believe that she got any
Jeff
from.
Healey died in 2008.
Oh, Jeff Healey is dead.
I told you.
Yeah. Jeff Healey is. I mean, he's not currently playing a lot of gigs, being dead.
I didn't know he died in 2008.
Yeah, and
Carlo just told me.
Yeah. He's not like Bob Weir, who is Grateful Dead but still alive. That was a joke. Anyway.
But yeah, Jeff Healey.
You don't have to laugh.
I figure, honestly, if he wasn't blind, like he's not a horrible guitar player, right?
No. Au contraire.
But he's not awesome. Do you know what I mean? Like he's.
Yeah, I know what awesome is. Listen to Larry Carlton. That's awesome.
He doesn't really have any heart. His music didn't have much heart in it. It was very technical.
You know, that's what. Let me just say this about that, because it's easy to give the. Why is his name escaping me? The guy who trained Steve Vai.
Oh, I can't remember his name either.
Steve Vai, though, is a good example of that. People get down on Steve Vai, say he has no soul. He's just speed and technique. I disagree. And if you see Steve Vai pick up a classical guitar and just play some beautiful jazz and classical riffs on it, you'll just go, really? That's amazing. But there's a guy who, what is his name? Is his name John Five? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Johnny Five?
Yeah, Johnny Five.
Maybe, I think.
He was the lead guitarist for Marilyn Manson.
Yes.
Yeah, John Five. Yeah, his name is Lowry. His name is John Lowry. So you think guitar player for, Manson is going to be a punk banger, right? Yeah. He's going to be Ted. He's going to be like White Stripes kind of guitar, just bang on the guitar, beat the crap out of it. He's not.
No, he's not.
He's phenomenal.
There are some Manson songs where the guitar just sings.
And that's him. That is, the other thing is what he does, and I love this because I'm a banjo player too. I actually started out playing banjo, played banjo for years before, even 2 years before I picked up the guitar. He adapts some of the banjo rolls in the left hand to the guitar, and it's big fun. And he does this on lessons on YouTube.
Does he?
What I love about Five is he shares his shit for free. He wants you to play the guitar. He wants you to get good like him.
I didn't know that.
I love this guy. Get you a husband who loves you like I love this guy. I really think he's awesome. I love his attitude. I love his technique. I love his style, and I love his soul. He's just a good guy. And people think, oh, Marilyn Manson, he's going to be some drugged out loser. No, sir. No. This is a guy who's given himself completely over to music.
Yeah.
And loves. He's a Johnny Appleseed type. Wants to spread it, and just. Yeah. He's Rob Zombie's current lead guitar.
I love Rob Zombie.
Well, yeah. So you know what I'm saying, though, right?
Have you ever crap? Where did the question?
He's played with Skinner. A lot of he's played with a lot of people. He played with David Lee Roth for a while.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was David Lee Roth's guitarist after the Van Halen Destructed. Yeah, for a while. Huh. He and Steve Vai both were. Steve Vai was Eddie Van Halen's replacement.
Interesting.
I can talk guitar history until you get tired of listening to me, which actually won't take that long. So it's convenient too.
If you like banjo music with some good rock and roll, Theory of a Dead Man actually has incorporated the banjo into some of their songs as well, and it's really cool.
Do you like the Pogues too?
Yeah, the Pogues were good.
Yeah,
I don't listen to the Pogues very much, but I used to listen to them quite often. My stepmother kind of she had awful taste in music except for the Pogues. She was like a Jimmy George,
yeah, yeah.
Bam, that type of music.
Yeah.
It was and she couldn't sing either. So and she loved to sing along. So as someone with perfect pitch stuck in a car with someone who can't sing, it's like, oh, stop, just stop, please, please stop singing.
I know. It's not everybody can sing. But anyway, how you doing?
Or they sit there and they go, I know I can't sing, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Exactly.
So I sent a story over yesterday about myths and conceptions about blind parents.
Yes, let's get into that. Okay.
I really liked the article, the way that the author wrote it, because it wasn't, she didn't write it from a victim point of view. She wrote it from, here's what I've heard, and here's what's true and what's not true. And I like articles that are written like that because they provide information to people without like pulling on the pity strings.
Right.
So I really think she did a good job of penning that article. I like the way she discussed those myths. I've actually had a couple of them yet, but not quite yet because my kids aren't quite old enough.
Yeah.
But I have.
Give us some examples.
Well, the one that she said was that your kids must be a lot of help for you. And
well, I mean, how old are your children?
4 and 18 months.
Well, that's old enough to help.
And what she said was
can drive.
Well, what she said was very true, was that no infant and toddler is helpful, regardless of whether you have sight or not.
I will back that up. I am sighted and have had toddlers. They are not helpful.
No, they're not. They're not helpful.
They take a lot out.
They do. And I love what she said about, so while they can occasionally find us the missing television remote, I think we still have the advantage over here. Like, and it's true because I have asked Alex to help me find the remote.
Yeah.
But kids are not supposed to be born with a job. And if you're disabled and you're having children to help you,
yeah,
you shouldn't have your children.
No. I mean, if it's a fun thing, there's a line, right?
Yeah.
Where, it becomes you're working out your child, and that's wrong. That's evil.
I had a friend tell me that I should see about getting Alex to go to school part-time and homeschool him part-time, and use the reason that he needs to be there to help me as to why. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. My child does not have a job to help his mom.
Yeah.
If his mom could figure out a way to conceive the child and give birth to the child, well, then she should be able to take care of the child. Well, it's not the child's job to take care of the mom. I actually had a bus driver tell Alex, oh, you got to help your mom. Make sure you help your mom.
And he was being good-hearted.
And I didn't bitch him out or anything.
Yeah.
But I don't like that because
I hear you. It's wrong on a number of levels.
Yeah.
It bothers you because you should be able to take care of things. And so it kind of encroaches on an area that you feel primacy of responsibility for. And that's certainly understandable. The other thing is it affects the child in a way that a child of a sighted person would not be affected, and that feels unfair to your child, to you.
Yeah.
And it is. I think you're correct to recognize that. Now, that said, your blindness is going to be, require you to have some stuff where you need help with. That's just the nature of the beast. And as they get older, they're naturally, they love you. They're going to love you, and they're going to naturally do stuff. But what you comfortably work into as a routine is different from exploiting your child's labor value, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I don't think you're ever going to have a problem, walking that line correctly. The interesting thing, though, about that article, and my point, and I do have one, is Ellen DeGeneres would say, my point, I do have one, is that grown children don't seem to help their blind parents very much.
No, it's true.
Is that a bad thing? Is that a problem?
It depends on what you're needing help with.
Yeah.
If your adult child drives and you need to go to the doctor's appointment, and say like Pincalo can't, say Pincalo is working and he can't take some time off.
Yeah.
And Alex is like in his 20s and I need help to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect that he would help his mom. Like if he wasn't working himself or anything like that.
Right.
I would expect that he would give me a ride somewhere.
And I think
I wouldn't expect
logical
him.
And normal.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect him to like all the time drop shit, come and help me clean my house, or like all that stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like there's certain little favors that most children would do for their parents, sighted or not. Like right now, my dad and my grandma are sharing my grandma's car.
Okay.
Because my dad's car is broken.
Okay.
But my dad, instead of like my dad
keeps his mother.
Yes, it's his mother.
Okay.
So my dad is keeping my grandma's car right now, and if she needs it, he comes and picks her up. Yes. And then goes to work, and she drives the car. So they have a back and forth. Like they each. It's a balancing act. Like she's helping him out, but he also doesn't make her drive to him to give the car to him. Like it's a give and take type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to instill in your kids to help people, but not that you expect it. Do you know what I mean? Like
right. And to be properly motivated for helping someone. The motivation to help someone is the satisfaction that you get personally, that quiet satisfaction that you get from doing it. That's the selfish motivation. And the altruistic motivation is just doing something decent for someone who needs some help.
Yeah.
And that's all it ever should be. That's why, you've probably seen my endless posts on Twitter of my crusade against, it can only be called a crusade at this point, against virtue signaling.
Yeah.
Virtue signaling makes me crazy. It so irritates me that when I see these celebrities getting up there and saying, I'm going to do this for these people. Aren't I great? I'm going to get this award. I got contacted by a charity. This was back when I was making enough money to get on these types of mailing lists. And they said, what we're doing is we're getting 100 people, and each one of them or we're getting 1,000 people. Each one of them is going to give $100. And at the end of it, we'll basically have $100,000. And we're going to throw a party that will cost $70,000 and give $30,000 to charity.
Oh, hell no.
And so it was, I was like, oh, wow. And not only that, not everybody who gives money is invited to the party. Only like 50 or 60 people. So this is going to be a super ritzy party, Hollywood style swag bags, the whole shot. And not everybody who gives money is getting, and somebody who he wasn't really a friend, and he never was a friend, but he was in this up to his eyes, and he was going around it. Come on, you got $1,000 for charity. Come on. I signed up for 10 people. I've only got one. I only got my mother. And I was like, really? He was afraid he's going to have to come up with $10,000 of his own money to go to this.
Then he shouldn't have fucking done that.
Yeah, exactly. But he's going to lose so much face in Dallas society if he didn't come up with the money. It's called the what is it? It's called the Dallas one. It was called the Dallas 100. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
And it was a ripoff of another concept, which was like I think called the 100 of Dallas. Okay, and which actually is more or less the same idea, but gives like 90% of the money to charity and throws itself a much more modest benefit. Yeah, but it's
you don't need to throw yourself a benefit for
exactly
to charity though.
No. Give the money and go on with your life. Be happy that you gave it, and that was one thing I agreed about with the Christian religion. Your reward is in heaven. Okay, don't worry about you don't get a reward for doing something good. Being good is a baseline to me.
Except for if you're Catholic and you buy indulgences.
Don't get me started.
So what did you think about I know you sent in the message that I said to you yesterday about that story. What did you think about some of the services that are offered to blind people in the States?
Here we go. And this is what I thought we would probably end up spending most of the stream talking about. In the United States, you basically have Social Security, disability income.
Yeah.
SSDI, or Social Security disability income, I'll just call it disability income, comes from the federal government, but it is it is a baseline of money, and it's just a drop of money. It's just a plots of money that comes to you once a month, and you live on that. If you're blind, you get that automatically, no questions asked, your whole life. Okay, it's enough to live a life of upper poverty.
Yeah.
Okay, of kind of lower class to lower middle class, maybe the lowest part of middle class. It's just that good, depending on how you live and how wisely you spend your money.
Yeah.
If you want to work, that's a different story. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can lose your disability if you make enough money working.
Yeah.
They'll review you and say, hey, you're Jose Feliciano. You're not disabled anymore. I'm sorry. Yeah. You're being driven around in a limousine. You're not disabled, and you don't get the disability income. But that doesn't happen much, especially not to the blind, because one thing about sighted people is they have a guilt complex about the blind. It actually drives people away from blind people. It
does, and it makes it so that I find a lot of people don't want to hire a blind person. They'll hire someone in a wheelchair or somebody who's deaf or somebody with a learning disability.
You know why?
Because blindness is scary.
Because blindness is scary. You hit it right on the head. That's exactly what it is. They don't want to be reminded of the horror of what they think it would be like to lose their sight. And in point of fact, it's interesting. I mean, since I've gotten to know you, it's just who I am. I've done a lot of research on blind people, and blindness. We all think we can close our eyes and know what blindness is. That you don't know shit. No. Basically,
because light still comes through your eyelids, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the absence of any input in that sensory realm, and it does two things. One is awful, and it cuts you off from the world of light. But the other thing is a strange little silver lining that happens. Your other senses become heightened. And there's a reason for that. There's actually a physiological reason for that. More of your brain, literally more of the meat between your ears, gets given over to the senses of hearing and smell and taste and touch. It's not that you get super hearing or get superpowers or anything like that, but you also live in a visually quiet world. So there's never any distracting things to look at.
Yeah.
Live in a world of thought at all times. The reality that you construct is not the reality that you see, but it's the reality you perceive with other sentences, and then construct the model of that reality and how it works in your mind. And that's very different from the way that people see the world. In some ways, being able to see, I think, makes people lazy about the way they model the world, about the way they model reality. And in point of fact, most people go through life, they never even think about any of this stuff. They just kind of plop through life and,
and you know what's really interesting
yeah,
about that whole thing of when you go blind and your senses and your brain starts, devoting more of itself to your senses, it makes connections to your visual cortex. So,
yes, absolutely.
When a blind person is reading a Braille book,
yes,
their visual cortex is still active.
Of course it is. Yeah,
and that's really cool.
It doesn't go away.
No,
but it changes function. It says I don't have that other input anymore. So what do I do? Because I'm going to continue. The neurons are still there. The neurohormones are still there. The neurotransmitters still fire.
Yep.
What is going to happen? And it's something that people don't really understand much about.
Well, and it's really amusing because hiring a blind person requires some of the least adaptations to an office.
I'm curious about that remark. Explain.
So, if you're hiring someone in a wheelchair, you got to make sure the building's accessible, right?
Yeah.
You got to make sure that there's room for their wheelchair. You got to make sure that they can traverse their workspace, right, without crashing into things.
Right.
Which is partially, operational. They know what they're doing with their chair because they've been in a chair forever. But also, you just got to make sure that there's room for the chair to move.
Yes.
But
Pingala says, try to explain to people that the blind person isn't really blind, but they have no eyes.
Yeah, he says that because I have prosthetics that I don't have eyes.
Yeah, but in point of fact, it really is. You construct a model in your mind about where things are, how things work. You were talking about when you're playing games that you construct a model in your mind of what menu choices exist on which menu.
Mm-hmm.
And you put that up. That's something most sighted people can't do because they've never exercised that part of their mind.
Yeah.
Yep. People, were you listening to Minions last night?
I passed out at 11.
I was tired myself. But at the Adam's a funny guy. At the end of the stream, he did a quiz about some of the trivia some of the stream trivia, some of the topics that came up on the stream, and he went through it. They asked a bunch of questions. They were pretty good questions, actually. Absolutely, really smart guy. I mean, people laugh at him and say he's a stoner and all that, but and he's all that, but he's also a very talented and intelligent man.
Oh yeah.
And so he was asking these questions. And I basically got them all right. And yes, saying when I got the one about The Boxer by Simon Garfunkel, I was right. You are wrong. Sorry, bud. You are. And I'm on the stream now, and you don't get a voice. So there. Anyway, I hope he listens to this. I hope to God he listens to this. Anyway, so I got all the questions right. And the reason is that for years and years and years, I have practiced my memory. This is not, strictly speaking, me being, greatly motivated or a better person than anybody else. This is more of something just that I can't help.
Yeah.
My memory demands a lot of. I have a high maintenance memory. I just do, and as a result, it's a really good memory. I mean, I can basically tell you what I did in any month, what the significant events of that time were, frequently to the day and even the time of day for my entire life. That's 66 years. It's a long time.
Yeah, I used to be able, like, now that I've got kids and my attention is more focused on them.
Yeah.
I can't really do that as well, but I used to be able to, like, my mom and I used to get into these huge arguments because she would be like, I never said X. And I
you
would be like,
say,
yes,
yeah,
you
said
did.
it on the morning of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you said it on this day, and you were standing in this part of the room, and I was over here, and I had my hand up on the shelf, and you said X, and I did, and I reacted Y.
Yes, that's exactly what I was talking
about. Used to piss her off so much.
And all that is having the discipline, the drive, the motivation, whatever you want to call it, to pay attention to your memory. And the memory is like a muscle. You know, if you work it, it gets better. If you try and if you practice remembering things, you'll remember things better. That's what memory building really is.
Yep.
And but most people don't care to do that. Why would you memorize something if you can just see it on a screen? You know, if you just call up a submenu and see it on a screen.
Well, and within the blind community, we actually talk about how iPhones and stuff have kind of taken away parts of our memory. Like,
oh, you kidding?
Blind people and I are sitting, a lot of other blind people, like, we're sitting there going, do you remember when we used to be able to remember everyone's phone number?
Yes.
Because as a blind person, they didn't have Braille phone books.
Right.
You just when you had your friends, like, unless you had a Brailler that was right next to you and you could Braille down your friend's phone number right then, you just repeated it in your head until it stuck.
That's it.
And
you know, how do blind people take notes? They have to have a dictaphone, basically.
You either have a dictaphone or back when tape recorders were still a thing.
Yeah.
You had your tape recorder, and then you would go home and you would Braille it all out.
Yep. So and that's speaking of which, you know, I'm continuing on with my Braille studies.
Oh yeah, how's that coming?
Well, I'm getting better. I can guess out a lot of words now. And the interesting thing I notice is I'm starting to recognize a few words like the and at and stuff like that. Easy words, just by the combination of the symbols for the three letters. I'll say, oh, that's and, you know, or that's the, you know, I'm not great at this yet, and I still am chart dependent for a lot of it. And plus, there's Braille for other stuff. There's Braille for symbols. There's Braille for numbers. And
it's called Nemeth code, which is for math.
Right. Yes.
And science.
Right. And then the other thing is that in that I noticed is on public signs and stuff, half the stuff's misspelled or is weirdly abbreviated.
Well, there are some, it depends on if the sign is in grade 2 or grade 1 Braille.
Yes, I have read something about that.
Because grade 2 Braille is shorthand.
And that's why I'm seeing the at symbol for, you know, like AT, they'll just put at symbol.
Yeah, that's normal, or that's weird, an at symbol for on a Braille sign, because that's just a .4.
Right, exactly.
I've never actually seen that, but there are contracted.
I just saw that. In fact, I sent you. This was a month ago. But I actually sent you a screenshot of that. For obviously, since it's a picture, Pinkala would have had it interpreted, but of where I encountered that for the first time. And I've encountered it a couple of times since. It may be a U.S. affectation or even just a Southwest affectation.
Maybe.
I know it's interesting, but I guess some of it seems to be strangely abbreviated because none of it is just completely wrong. It seems to be, appropriate, kind of pointing the way to what the meaning of the sign is.
Yeah, shorthand is because Braille takes up so much room. If you do things letter for letter, it's ridiculous. So they came up with what's called grade 2 Braille, where certain words, some words just have some letters like EA, because you can make a EA contraction. The word and can become its own symbol.
Yeah, it's got a symbol for and, right?
Same with the same with the word for, like FOR.
Yeah.
So there's just different. So it's like a combination between shortening words and certain combinations of letters, just to make more room. Especially for novels and such. Like if you read a novel, you're gonna want it to be in grade 2 Braille. I actually find that if I read letter for letter or grade 1 Braille, I actually read slower.
Really?
Yeah. Because I'm trying not to miss everything, but my brain is like used to reading at grade 2.
So you have to parse every letter to not miss everything, and it slows you down. That makes sense, actually. That makes perfect sense to me.
And you know what's another weird thing about technology and not reading Braille, but listening to a screen reader read things to you?
Which is what?
Spelling.
Oh.
There are certain words that I've never actually read in Braille.
Yeah.
And therefore, I actually don't know how they're properly spelled.
Like, give me an example.
Phasers.
Phaser.
Yeah, never seen it written, didn't know that it was spelt that way.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, because you don't know, it could be FAZ.
Yeah.
Yep. I see exactly.
I've never read any Star Trek stuff in Braille, so I've never seen the word phasers written. I've only had a screen reader read it to me.
It's interesting. I wonder what a screen reader would pronounce Flockanakanilapilafish.
Or some of the Klingon stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, Gunfox has to go to work. See you later, Gunfox.
See you later, Gunfox. Thanks for coming by, bud. It's good to see you. And let's see. What else we got going in chat? Let's see.
We got 10 minutes, guys, because I got to get ready for my doctor's appointment. So if you guys want to say something or ask a question.
Yep.
Oh, yep. Chadwick was asking if that Dallas 100 did that turn out to be a scam or anything like that?
In my opinion, it was a scam, even though they claimed to. The only thing about the donations was they put on as a disclaimer, there is no evidence that this is going to be a tax-deductible charitable contribution.
Okay.
That's the big thing. And I think they did that because somebody was a lawyer in there and said, hey, we better put a release from liability here that, release ourselves from liability of claiming that this is a tax-deductible contribution, because we all know it's a bullshit game, you know, for us to buy ourselves some cool stuff and have a big party and on other people's dime. So, yeah, I mean, if Charity Navigator had bothered to evaluate the Dallas 100, they would have come down on them like a ton of bricks. They would have given them, like a 20 out of 100, and would have been listed as not suitable, for anybody. Not really, because that's bullshit. Giving 90 cents on a dollar so that a few people can have a party.
If it's not tax deductible, it's not a charity, says Chadwick.
That's not a terrible test, really. That's not a bad test, in my opinion.
No.
That's a possibility. Let's see. Swinging through the news. Just an update on, and it's a sad update. So sad news coming. Sad update on the lady who was shot by
the pregnant lady?
Yeah, the Hamas.
Did she pass?
No, the baby passed. The little baby lungs. It was 30 weeks. And so that's 6 weeks premature.
Yeah.
And the little baby's lungs just weren't developed enough, and they just could not sustain. It just couldn't ship oxygen to the brain fast enough, no matter what they did. The baby had top-notch care. It was in a modern neonatal, ICU in Jerusalem, and with the best medicine that Israel has, which is effectively the best medicine in the world. It's Western medicine, top-notch Western medicine, and they could not save the baby. The woman, I understand, is still fighting for her life. Think about this: a guy, his pregnant wife, who's 6 weeks from delivery, and they're just standing out there at the bus stop.
They're mourning people who died in another terrorist attack.
Right, exactly. And two guys come in and just ruin their lives. I hope they catch those two bitches in that car and roast them. Okay, this stream will never be monetized. As far as I'm concerned, I would take those two guys and skin them a fucking live and impale them on a post.
Yep.
I am so furious about this.
Death is too good.
Yes, exactly. I don't want them to die. I want them to beg for death for about a month.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want them to be an example that this is what happens to, this isn't snitches get stitches. This is terrorists get skinned alive. I absolutely beside myself. I'm so angry about this. And there's, I love life. I love children. I love raising children. I've raised a lot of children. My son-in-law died, so I have to be father of 4 grandchildren now. And I love children. I love bringing them up. It's just, they're interesting. It's fun to watch them develop, do all the dopey stuff that kids do. I just love it. And for that kind of malicious, hateful violence to intrude into that family situation is an obscenity that I have difficulty characterizing it. So anyway, sad update on that story. Other stuff.
Did you hear
Yes.
more sad news? Did you hear that there was a shooting in France yesterday?
I heard there was a shooting in France. I have not followed up on it. What's going on there?
It was at a Christmas market.
Yes, I did hear that.
I think there's. I know there are some deaths, but I can't quite remember. Let me see. Gunfox left the.
What do you know about it?
I know that it happened yesterday afternoon. Well, it was posted in the afternoon of our time. Yeah. So that means it would have had to have happened.
So if they've killed 3 people, I'm
three people.
Saying
okay.
It now. Okay. In the New York Times is saying possible terror attack given that the gunmen were screaming Allahu Akbar at the top of their lungs. So they're thinking that it possibly was Islamic terrorists. And
but that's just part and parcel of living in a big city now.
Yeah.
Fucking Macron. Fuck off.
One other Voice of America has come back and said that only 2 were killed, but I think the 3 were killed is more accurate. You'll probably see both of those because one came from I think an early Reuters release that said there were 2. Looking at this, and yeah, it just it's sick, it's sad, it's sick, it's it's just heartbreaking.
Okay, I just saw a thing that says senior Chinese military officer calls for ramming U.S. ships.
Yeah, don't do that.
That just seems like a phenomenally bad idea.
That's such a bad idea.
I mean, like a really bad idea.
Well, let me just explain to you. First of all, ramming a ship is a lot harder than you think it is. It's easier to sail alongside it and then move over and kind of do a side-to-side collision, a bump.
Yeah.
But hit, like T-boning a ship, using your ship as a torpedo, basically, is really hard to do unless what you're going after is a tanker. And if what you're going after is a tanker, you're going to turn yourself into a wet spot on the ocean.
That's what I mean. Like, are you trying to sacrifice your ship and crew in this, like, seppuku of fucking why are you doing
suicide? Yeah,
why? What is the point?
I don't know what the point in doing that. I think maybe they're frustrated. Look, China has a navy that is it's not even as good as the U.S. Navy was in World War II. They just aren't. They don't have the seamanship. They don't have the weapons proficiency. They don't have operations, navigation. All that stuff is not up to snuff. It's just not. And they tried to put out an aircraft carrier, and it just didn't work. Too much of it didn't work. They had to sail it, but tow it back into port. The engines even failed, and they towed it back into port, and I think it just cost so much money that they may be mothballing it. I haven't heard that it's come back out. They try and do the stuff that the U.S. does, and they don't understand that the U.S. has such good command and control systems in place. They don't know how to duplicate that.
And they also have experience.
Well, yeah, they basically here's the way the Chinese try and run their Navy. They get a bunch of Army guys and say, okay, go build a ship and sail it. Well, let me tell you something. That isn't going to work, because
it's like taking infantry guys, putting them in front of an airplane, and going, okay, go.
Exactly.
Like, what?
But it's not just that they don't know the technical systems, although that's a big deal. Okay, and they basically, run the engines until they stop working. And then they say, "Oh, we need somebody to tow us back into port." This is what happened with their carrier, with their flagship of their fleet, right? And but it isn't just that. They're hapless on the ocean. They don't understand the rules of the road. They don't know how to behave in the presence of other vessels. They run their vessels aground routinely. Mm-hmm. They say, well, it's ocean, sail that way, point it that way. And the fact that there's a reef 5 feet below the ocean surface, and that happens all over the ocean. There's stuff like that all over the ocean. Mm-hmm. You have to be very careful where you point your ship.
Pincalo says
things can happen.
Pincalo says the USS Cole, it didn't sink. I saw it after it left the yards. Is that a ship that was rammed?
No, well, the Cole was bombed by a suicide bomber,
Oh,
and it was terribly damaged. They did have to tow it back to Norfolk Naval Base, but that was the one that was over in Kuwait or something, and two guys in a motorboat full of dynamite went up and basically lit up the midships of that ship.
wow.
And,
Carlos says it sounds how they drive, like how they drive.
Exactly.
The USS Cole was rammed from the rear quarter by a wooden ship.
Oh, it was okay. I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, it was the way it was done. They watched it come in. They gave him warnings.
Yeah.
And
yes.
He came at them still. They shot at his bow, and he rammed into the just aft of midship.
Right. Yeah, that's what I remember.
It was an interesting damage when I saw the thing come. When I saw the thing pull up next to us in the berth, I'm like, "Holy crap!" Because you could see where all the fresh paint was, and it was a large section of it.
Yeah. So you saw it after it was repaired.
Yeah, he saw it after it left the shipyards.
And where did you see this? Where what city?
You were in Norfolk still, right?
Yep.
When you saw it?
When the Cole came out of NAVSEA, yeah.
Oh, okay. So
when it came out of NAVSEA and came into there, yeah, that was impressive.
Yep.
I can't hear you, Skep. So
understood. Okay.
But it's 11:02, guys. I got to get ready for my doctor's appointment.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Pinkel. Good talking to you. Tell them bye for me. And
I will.
Thanks for having me on again. We'll do this tomorrow, folks. Thank you, chat. We'll see you tomorrow. Blind's got to get to her appointment. We've all got things to go, and so catch us here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Anything you want to show real quick?
Also, don't forget about the Star Trek stream on Saturday. We're doing Future's End, and we're going to have guest Unholy Mole. He's excited, and I'm excited too. It'll be fun. And don't forget, if you guys are interested and awake, Skep Talk and I will be on the Minions of the Zoo tonight at 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central p.m. Thanks again, guys, for coming and listening to us. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks to Gunfox for the news. Hopefully we'll have another good show tomorrow with lots of good content, and I will let you know how I'm getting my medical form for the dog filled out today. So, yay!
We'll have an update on that tomorrow.
Yes,
but that's very important actually. So. We'll have
that's the form that proves that I'm blind. Isn't that interesting?
We can go into to that. I just want to address W.R. Costin. How dare you make us sad, Skep Talk? Yeah, I'm sorry that I had to hit some sad news, but it does happen. Anyway, all is well. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, we will. Thank you guys for coming. Have a great day and stay safe out there.
Be careful out there.